Hello there guys, it's Joey. So for the second YouTube pagan video I'm going to actually combine. I'm going to combine the topic about food with mundane and magical life. And you know, how does your spirituality affect your mundane life? Because again, this is two of these videos that I was thinking, well, how I feel about these is kind of a short thing. I've always thought that food was kind of its own magic, its own alchemy, and there's a rich history of witches putting things in things to feed people in order to create spell work. Some savoury, some not so savoury, some sweet. Nya, nya, nya. That's a pun. I didn't mean to do that at all, but there you go, one food pun tailor-made apparently. So there's a long history of witches putting ingredients into spells that are fed, and the most obvious example to my mind is like love spells, when lovers are you know, there's ancient spells of putting blood in and other herbs and things into something that your lover will eat or drink, and the consuming of a spell is said to be very, very potent. You can actually do spells that you consume yourself in order to bring things to your life, and the energy exchange within your own body can be considered a very powerful act of magic. So that's kind of really how I feel about it, and it doesn't make for a very long video. Okay, done, bye. I feel it's like alchemy, so it's witchcraft, it's necessary. But I think it ties in nicely to the idea of there being a separation between mundane and spiritual, which I don't think is the case when you really get into witchcraft and spirituality. When you are looking at it and looking at how a lot of people feel about the pagan path, then you realise that it starts to flow from who you are as a person, as an individual, as a witch, as however you want to spiritually label yourself, into every area of your life. And sort of this idea that we divide spiritual acts from mundane acts doesn't really jam with me, doesn't gel with me. I don't think there should be a separation between these two ideas. And it's 100 million little ways that you can bring elements of your witchcraft into everyday occurrences. And I think the most obvious example, I say, you know, personal hygiene or cleanliness, you know, bathing. For many of us, it becomes a spiritual act. Many of us keep crystals in the bathroom. I know I do. I charge my soaps with crystals, and I've actually got a, what would you call it, like a meme picture-y thing on the Starry-Eyed Facebook page in the album titled like spells and things for people to look at. And I talked about, you know, imbuing your soap with crystals. And the idea behind that is that, you know, a lot of us will buy, and some of us make our own soaps, and therefore they kind of have a magical edge because we've infused them with our own energy. And it can be essential oils of a particular variety that we've, you know, we know the magical correspondences for, or we've put herbs or flowers or whatever into, you know, the soap. And we know all of those energies, or perhaps we have supported a local pagan-y business who sells soaps and it's made to be magically this, magically that, or bath salts which are meant to be magically this, magically that, and then we incorporate that into our daily cleanly routine. And so the way that I quite frequently do this is I really enjoy lime soap, and I mix and match all over the place with shower gel, but with soap I really like lime. Now lime is a spiritual warrior. It's uplifting, it's invigorating. We know that many products for the bathroom are marketed to being, you know, invigorating, energizing. The smell will wake you up. Be very, very careful if you ever use original source tea tree and mint, because that will wake you up. Whew. Especially as a shower gel, I really wouldn't. It can be quite stingy, but we use all of these things because we know they have a magical vibration, and we bring them into our everyday activity of bathing. I really like the Japanese method, actually, or the Japanese way of looking at things, and it's actually in Memoirs of a Geisha, and it's in the movie, and it's also in other adaptations of Japanese geisha life in particular, but elements of Japanese life where they are quite ritualistic about everyday things. And the idea of the tea ceremony is all these actions, all these emotions, all these physical but yet symbolic, ritualistic motions and the passing of cups and you know, it's all done in such a way that it all has meaning and it all has symbolism and it all has a code of honor and ethics in the Japanese culture. And I really like that idea about bringing that into our everyday lives. Like, everything we do can be done in a certain way, with a certain mindset, with a certain energy, and that brings a spirituality to everything we do. It can be as simple as, when it rains, we go out and enjoy it, we go out and dance in it, we go out and we collect some storm water when it storms, we connect with those energies around us, we honour that weather, that nature. We grow things and we put little crystals in when we're growing plants, and when we're cleaning the home we might use essential oils, we might look for more natural, planet-friendly alternatives for cleaning and see how we can shift what we're doing in order that it's more friendly to the earth, friendly to nature, friendly to the world around us. And these are just some simple little ways in which we can shift our mind consciousness so that we are living a spiritual path. So mundane isn't separate, it is all part and parcel of what we do as being a witch, and to the point where we don't necessarily realise or think or overtly make a point of the fact that it is a spiritual act. Whereas, say, when we do ritual, we are very much making a point of it being a spiritual act. But it can still be spiritual, it can still be magical on the everyday level. And I think that's probably the way it should be, because then you're infusing everything you do with who you are as a witch, label, etc. And I think it kind of just is part of the life process. It's walking what you're talking, basically, and realizing where along the road there might be disconnect between certain elements and the magical spiritual path, and then sort of course correcting those. It's part of the journey. What do I do that's every day that's not particularly infused with who I want to be as a spiritual being? And we look to make ourselves better. Maybe it's, you know, being more green, recycling more, being more economical, and so on and so forth. All these things which aren't necessarily exciting witchcraft, but are witchcraft or spirituality, however so you wish to label again. But they are witchcraft or spirituality, you know, they are it. It might not be the sexy spells or the deeply ritualistic offerings to the gods. And sometimes just, you know, simple offerings and things on a daily basis can seem mundane, but they are loaded with spiritual significance. They are being humble, they are being reverent in their offering. They are, you know, you're taking the time out of your day to give a daily offering, to cleanse your altar. And this act of spiritually cleansing your altar can be, and should be, and probably is for most of us, deeply loaded with all sorts of magical and spiritual significance. Cleansing away of dirt, we remove the dirt, everything looks better. We clean down the altar with a specially formulated prayer wash, or we use a Florida water, and then we use a goddess specific wash for our altar, or spritz perhaps, and maybe we use an oil to anoint the altar like I do, and then you place the clean altar cloth on top, and then you are placing everything in its place. And there's something about the placement is specific and ritualistic and symbolic. And then you may anoint your statues again with a little oil, and so on and so forth. And all of these things are alchemy, all of these things are shifting consciousness, all of these things are witchcraft in their sense. And I think there isn't really a divide as far as I'm concerned. So I didn't really want to go on at length about that one. I went on at quite length about the correspondences, so I think that will do for magical versus mundane. I don't think there's a need to separate. I think all things can be magical if we just know how to look at them. Okay, so that's it for this little video, and if I find the button, many blessings.